Hello and welcome back, chess enthusiasm, and welcome to the 1 e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5, which is called the Royal Lopez or Spanish opening. In this position or in this chapter, we want to discuss about bishop c5, which is called the classical variation of the Royal Lopez. In this position, there's some other moves like castling, like c3 plus d4, or maybe immediately we play d4. But in this chapter, we want to more focusing on knight c3, which is one of the most important lines. As we more discussing, we want to just arriving our knight on the d5. Let's see, there's black can play. There are lots of moves. For example, knight d4, d6, f5, which is a tricky move, knight ge7, knight f6, and s6, which is maybe want to play like the Murphy defense, but in this position that's not a good moves. Let's see step by step. The main line is knight d4, and in this position we just want take, and after bishop takes or maybe pawn takes. If pawn want to takes, this will be not very well because we just can play queen to h5, and this maybe we want to make more threat for checkmate, and this will be not good for black. But in this position, after take with the bishop, we just attack on the bishop, and now he must be defending. He cannot move any other thing, just must be bishop b6, and in this position we immediately can play d4, not castling, because as you can see in this position our opponent plays so passive, and we just play d4. Our opponent can take or also can play c6 and attacking on our bishop. If our opponent want to take, we just can take with the knight, and in this position knight e7. As you know, knight f6 is not very good because we just attacking on taking the temp. Because of that, you can just develop the knight to e7, and also taking the knight will be not good for black. For example, bishop e7, just after knight e7, bishop e3, castling. First we want to play queen to f3, and after that we will be castling, attacking on our bishop. Bishop must become to d3 because maybe we want to push our pawn and want to attack on the h7 pawn. Active king, active the rook, and in this position you can pause the video and guess we want to short castling or long castling. The answer is long castling, and as you can see in this position all of our piece is active, and maybe we can pushing with the h4 h5 and starting attacking on the king side. For example, like this position, you can see our two rooks are active, and also the knight is very well, the bishops are completely active, and this position can be winning for white. And maybe we want to play f4 f5, why not? But let's see the other variations in the classical variation. After knight c3, this is the main line as we said. Let's see the d6, which is like the Steinitz variation, but this is really bad move because we just can't destroy the pawn structure. And after that d4, he or she must be take the pawn, because if you don't want to take, this will be full controlling the center for white. And if take with the pawn, we just take with the knight. In this position, after developing, ready to castling, we just can develop our bishop. which is maybe better to g5, pinning the knight, and we will be more try to attacking on the knight. And now our main plan is to attack on the pawn. For example, it must be take. If for example our opponent want to castling, this will be completely winning for white, because we now can take the pawn, and this position is completely bad. For example, as you can see, the engines just like to knight takes c6 and sacrifice the queen, unfortunately. So the castling is completely bad. Bishop to d7, and in this position again we can just develop the king, unfortunately the queen. Maybe we can also castling, but our plan is long castling and starting attack on the king side for black. For example, after short castling, we try to long castling. As you can see, again we want to active our rook, we want to start attack with f4, f5 maybe, and we just want to controlling b4 squares with a3. So we see two variation, which is knight d4, d6, and also let's see f5, which is a tricky move, but we just want to take. In this position, taking the f5 pawn were also good, but I want to more focusing on taking the pawn with knight takes c5. Here, as you can see, we divided our course two variation. Let's see one by one. For example, knight f6, we just can take the another pawn, and after castling, knight f3, because we don't want to taking, and after that we just active, and this will be not very well for us because the open file will be destroying us. So we just knight f3, and after king come, we also can exchanging the queen, but as you can see, our opening develops very well, and we just want to more play, and because of that we just don't want to threat the queen, and bishop e7, d6, short castling takes, and now we play d4, attacking on the bishop, and also open the diagonal for our bishop. After bishop b4, just bishop c4 first check, and after that we can develop our knight to d5, because if bishop knight want to take, this will be bad. We can just controlling completely the queen side for white, b4 and f4, which is want to play a5, and this pawn structure, this complete activity and pieces will be useful for us. You can compare differences between white and black positions, but also in this position can play queen to f7, which is the main line. We just can attack. Also we can discovery, but I don't like this discovery for now. Just we attack on the queen, and this queen will be more passive, and now we can just discovery the queen and win the rook, which is completely better. Now our knight is trapped, for that we just want to play an attack on the knight and changing. As you can see in this position, black pawn structure is completely destroying, and as you can see in the middle game also we can just develop our knight to e5, maybe active our rook. Why not? We want to play h3 and maybe a4. This will be good for us. Let's see the other variation. Knight g7, knight takes, after f5, which is we discussing, we just can take, and the main line is taking with the knight, and in this position we have fork with d4. After bishop d6, just take, and queen h5 with check. After g6, queen to f3, maybe we want to take the pawn, developing the knight, preparing to castling. After taking the pawn, in this position first our opponent want to attack, and we just play queen h6, maybe bishop h6. Maybe you think we just sacrificing our bishop, but in this position we short long castling, and this file with this diagonal will be completely bad for black. Let's see one example. In this position, as you can see, maybe we also can play some other moves and starting attacking on the king in the center, which is not safe. But also in this position can play d5, not taking the bishop, just we can long castling. And after bishop takes c6, we can take with the queen. We don't want to destroying the pawn structure. After bishop takes f5, now we have sacrificing the queen, because in this position can also knight takes. If knight want to takes, we just can check, and after that this position is completely winning for us. Maybe in this position we also can changing the queens, and this endgame is completely winning for us. Let's see if the queen takes. No problem for us, we just can take. We want to taking the rook, and with rook will be check. Maybe we want to also play some threatening to the mate. Let's see the other variation. So in this position, knight f6 and a6. First knight f6, short castling, knight takes e5, and knight takes e5. Again, you can guess what's our move. Yes, d4, forking, and after this move we also can take, and after that just playing f4. But I want to play f4, and now fork with e5. And after bishop e3, bishop d3, rook e8, knight e2, because we're preparing to c3, b4, maybe a4, a5, and this pawn structure will be completely useful for us, and maybe we can active our bishop like that. So let's see the last variation, which is a6, like the Murphy defense. In this position we also can play like bishop c4, but I really want to play bishop e4, after knight f6, short castling, and our opponent maybe want to short castling. After short castling, we want to destroying the pawn structure and eat d3, make our pawn structure well, and after that we just can active our rook and maybe exchanging the bishops. For example, in this position, first in one of the games, h3, protecting the g4 squares, and after that, just as you can see, also one of the other ways which you must be consider in your games, that's a4 a5, which is more controlling the queen side for white. And in this position also we can just play like the normal moves and active our other pieces. Or maybe we would just want to play f4 f5. This is the Murphy defense variation, but not just castling, also can play b5, and in this position also we just play bishop to b3, short castling, d3, because we want to make this pawn structure and also developing our knight. So after d6 we just play knight to d5. All of our discussing is about active this knight, and after take this pin, and in this position also we can completely better because of our active our pieces, and maybe we are also preparing to destroying pawn structure in the center and start attacking on the central c3 plus d4. Or maybe we can just play like this. Maybe we want to also play in the future some attacking on the queen side. This is the classical variation with bishop c5, and I hope you learn something. If this course will be useful for you, I will share, subscribe, and thanks for all of you. Good luck, all the best.